Cape Town, where I was born and from where all my journeys began. This time, after spending time with family, I'm off to where I spent much of my childhood, Indonesia. Surabaya is a dump. At least, that was the impression I got the last time I was here. Hotel Majapahit is where I'm spending my first night. It dates back to Dutch colonial times. My room seems palatial, but the porter tells me I must be a secret agent. After a short rest, I take a taxi to what's top of my list, the zoo. Previously described as the zoo of death, now the animals are all looking healthy. And it's a great attraction for the locals. I was last here when I was 5, nervously making friends with a baby elephant. Is this the same elephant? Hardly. Surabaya is full of contrasts, and one is never sure what one might come across. Nightfall is a very social time in Indonesia, especially if you're young. It's been a long day for me. I think it's time for bed. Chinatown is my first destination in the morning. Rickshaws, or bechucks as they are known here, are an everyday sight in Indonesia. I had some time to explore the city before heading on to Malang this afternoon. I've caught a taxi to the Arab Quarter, which feels like a Medina or a bazaar in the Middle East. I used the ride app Grub to book a taxi to Malang, 100 kilometers to the south. About 1,500 feet above sea level, Malang is a bit cooler and leafier than Surabaya. I am staying at the Tugu, which is as much a museum as a hotel. Next morning, I'm headed further for the hill resort of Selecta. On the journey, I have a very interesting conversation with a Chinese taxi driver. Selecta is a resort where as a family we spent a holiday shortly before I started school. Here I am with my brother Victor. I remember the swimming pool was there, and it looks like it's still very popular. It has a kind of theme park atmosphere now. Everyone is having fun. I escape to the paths in the forest above the resort and try to imagine how it must have been back then. My taxi driver has dropped me off on Jalan Besar Ijen, Malang's Millionaires Row, a boulevard dating back to the Dutch era. From here, it's a hair-raising walk across busy roads to the town square, the Alun-Alun. Motorcycles make heavy use of the road across the river, leading to a market selling pet animals and plastic goods. There's also a flower market. Back at the hotel, I'm treated to a tour of the museum. It's all a bit Indiana Jones-like. Dinner is exotic and delicious. Next morning, I'm catching the train to Yogyakarta. After a 6-hour journey, I arrive in time for some street food. Next morning, I visit the Kraton, or Palace Complex. The ticket price includes a performance of gamelan music and dance. This is Taman Sari, a pleasure park of palaces and gardens built for the Sultan, and which has a very Moorish feel about it. This old man guided me around what's left of the buildings, and the underground mosque. Tonight, I'm sleeping at a homestay at Borobudur, next to a rice field. I can't see the famous temple at Borobudur until the morning, so I've caught a taxi here to the Mendut Temple, 3.5 kilometers east of Borobudur, and built at the same time in the 8th and 9th centuries. It's off the main tourist trail, and it's mellow and peaceful. The homestay is very basic, but I feel at home here. Things change radically early next morning. I'm blasted out of bed by the imam from the nearby mosque. My visit to the temple at Borobudur is predictably hectic. I can't say I'm enjoying it. We are given special sandals and split into groups with tour guides. Our tour guide offers to take pictures of each of us. Here's the one he took of me. It's a relief to get back to Yogyakarta, where I find this living house museum in a quiet part of the city. This morning I've hailed another Uber-like grab taxi for the trip to the new Jogja airport. I'm flying to Singapore and then on an onward flight to Tokyo later tonight. Time enough to visit the botanical gardens that I know so well. And enjoy a not very peaceful cup of tea. Evening sets in as I stand by the boat quay and think back on the times I've been here before. I have boarded my Singapore Airlines flight for Tokyo.
Make sure that your seat belt is securely fastened during taxi, takeoff, and landing. To fasten, bring the two ends of the seat belt together until you hear a click. Tighten it by pulling on the strap.
Wow!
If you're in business class,
I have 3 seats to myself.
your seat belt. To unfasten,
A great welcome awaits me in Japan. This is my compact yet functional room in the northeast of Tokyo, next to the Samudra River. In the evening, I visit the nearby Sensoji temple complex. After buying an adapter at the Don Quixote store, it's time for dinner. 2 days later, I used my rail pass to board the bullet train for Kyoto. Mount Fuji towers behind the industrial landscape. Kyoto was the ancient capital of Japan. Fushime Inari is a Shinto shrine not far from where I'm staying, near Kyoto Station. It's a vast complex with vermilion shrine gates stretching up the mountainside. Foxes are seen as sacred. They guard the rice granaries and can possess humans. I decide to escape the crowds by taking a train to Nara, where I have a sort of Japanese pizza. Next morning, I'm impressed by Higashi Hongonji, a Buddhist temple near the station which boasts an enormous wooden hall. Also to the south of Kyoto Station is Tofukuji, a lovely garden very popular in the foliage season, also known as autumn. In the north is a Zen garden. From which one can view the Bridge of Heaven. The Kyoto Railway Museum, another attraction which is nearby. The Japanese have a great love affair with trains. I wonder if I should have a 10-minute go on the train simulator. Having spent not nearly enough time in Kyoto, I've been back on the bullet train to Hiroshima, where it's raining. I look out at the old trams, which are a feature of the city. Again, it's Japanese pizza time. This morning, I'm out in the rain at the Atomic Bomb Dome, formerly the Industrial Promotion Hall. It was the only building in the immediate vicinity to survive the bomb blast. I ring the bell at the Children's Peace Monument. Particularly heart-wrenching is the memorial to the Koreans who died here. Their spirits hovered for years, unable to pass on to heaven. The flame of peace will burn until all nuclear weapons are destroyed. The memorial hall shows a panorama of all the parts of the city which were destroyed, while the hypercentre lies a few hundred metres away. Miraculously, trees nearby survived the blast, but not Hiroshima Castle, which has been rebuilt since. Shuke-in Garden is a miniature version of the West Lake in Hangzhou, China. I am determined to ride the last night train still operating in Japan. I have a tiny compartment all to myself. Next morning, I find myself looking out to the Sea of Japan on the way back to Tokyo. I'm now at Odawara, catching a train into the tourist-infected Hakone mountain area. I stop off at the Hakone Open Air Museum, which proves to be really good, with installation by leading artists. And also a hot spring foot bath for my tired feet. From here on, it's a cable car ride. What will we see on the other side of the ridge? Mount Fuji! And sulfur from a collapsed volcano. If it erupts, we need to run and hide. The blue waters of Ashinoko, giving another good view of Mount Fuji. As the sun sets over Mount Fuji, I try a private onsen, or hot spring bath, at my hotel. Next morning, I catch a bus back to Onawara Station. No, that wasn't my train, but now I'm on a really fast bullet train on the long journey up to Hokkaido in the north of Japan. Here I'm joining some 20 others, most of whom went to a missionary boarding school here for a 4-day reunion. After we have said our goodbyes, I spend the rest of the day in Hakodate. Enjoying afternoon tea at the old British consulate and seeing the local sights. Dinner at the famous and quirky Lucky Piro. And then, later, jostling the crowds to see the view from the top of the hill above the city. Flying from Tokyo the next day, I had a stopover in Hanoi for the night. A short walk in the morning was enough to want me to return someday.